10, 9, ignition sequence start. All engines are running.
Liftoff, and the clock is Roger, the clock is operating. We're underway.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
And as we get our DeLorean up to 88 miles an hour, we time travel right into Kerbalcast, episode 33, a different 2015.
In 2015, Biff steals the sports almanac and takes the time machine back to 1955 to give it to his younger self. But as soon as he does that, he changes the future. So the 2015 he returns to would be a different 2015, not the 2015 that Marty and Doc were in.
And that's where we find ourselves in a different 2015, and it's all because I stole the sports almanac.
No.
And who am I? I am your LMP, Lunar Module Pilot, Biff Aldrin, our CMP, our Command Module Pilot.
Nostromo.
And coming up in today's program...
What hath 2 weeks wrought? It's our progress in the game after the holiday break.
And Jeb is dead.
What?
Find out what happens in episode 3 of A Kerbal Life.
Another edition of the mission briefing as we read your letters.
And we have Kerbal news to go with that as well, and your chance to win a free custom control pad for iOS. And also, coincidentally, we happen to have a review of said custom control pad.
Yeah.
We are back from a 2-week break, and what I think is interesting is that we talked about some stuff in the last episode that on the day that I posted the episode, we started getting some emails that answered some of the questions that we raised. And one of them was, I said, if anybody has used the custom control pad, could you please let us know what you think? And before the podcast even went out, somebody wrote us and said, hey, I use the custom control pad. Here's what I think. So anyway, we have basically 2 weeks of letters.
Yeah, so it's been, sitting and fermenting.
Yeah,
now we're about to get drunk off a whole bunch of reviews.
It's funny. I said, what hath 2 weeks wrought?
Yeah.
It's wrought as in, like brought forth, not rot as in Walking Dead zombies. So anyway, how was your holidays?
It was good. Just a 2-week break. Really nice. Not from the podcast, 2-week break from a lot of stuff. I didn't have to put up with you.
He was glad.
That was a highlight.
You had a 2-week break from Biff.
I mean, I still worked most of it, but
Yeah.
it was, I don't know, it was just really good. I got to spend it with both my family and my girlfriend's family.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's like I got 2 Christmases, so I got a ton of stuff. It was really awesome.
I was going to say, did you get anything good?
A lot of board games.
Did you really?
Yeah. And this is like prime time because all these people are stuck in a house and they can't leave with a bunch of people.
Right.
And they're like, well, what are we going to do? And
Hey,
I'm over there.
Did you try the Kerbalcast trick? Did you play it?
Yeah, we all just sat around.
And they were still around after you played it?
I said, guys, I'll play this podcast if we don't play a board game. And I played board games the whole week. It was just amazing.
All right. See, I told you we have value.
Yeah.
If only to chase people away.
Kerbalcast. The best weapon in a hostage situation.
and a family Christmas.
Yeah. How was yours?
Very good. I would like to, since they can't see, I'm going to rely on your descriptive powers.
You're wearing clothes this time.
Yes, I'm.
And it's a white shirt with a Kerbal knot on it with
Yes.
the Kerbal flag. That is really nice, though. It's a good
Yes.
shirt.
It is one of 2. For Christmas, I got 2 T-shirts. Kerbal Space Program. I have always wanted. I love to wear T-shirts that have things on, things written on them. I generally have a lot of like Star Wars T-shirts and comic book character T-shirts and things like that. I have a couple of NASA T-shirts, which for some reason, this shows you how much goodwill NASA has with the public. Anytime I wear my NASA T-shirts, inevitably somebody will comment, "Hey, cool shirt."
Yeah.
Or they'll come up to me and go, hey, my granddad worked in the Apollo program, or, I did or whatever. But it's like everybody has a positive association with NASA. So if it's like if I want total strangers to come up and talk to me, I'll wear my NASA shirt. But I now have officially 2 Kerbal Space Program shirts. One of them has Jeb on it, and he's holding a flag. The other one, you know how you get those shirts that say, I heart something? The other shirt says I, and then there's an explosion, and then it says Kerbal Space Program.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, my girlfriend got them for me. She said that she was looking, and a lot of them were like Jeb with a Santa hat.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, I wanted something you could wear year round.
Yeah, that's the hard part about Christmas.
Because, you know, she knows how I wear underwear, so she wanted my shirt to match.
Yeah.
Wear it year round. But yeah, I've always wanted a Kerbal shirt, and now I have two.
Well, congratulations on your Kerbal shirts.
Yes. So anyway, now I need to get you a couple. That way we can both sit here in our Kerbal shirts.
Yeah.
And nothing else.
So finally, both of us can have clothes.
People will go, who are you?
Yeah.
Another thing I did that was kind of fun over the holidays, and I'm gonna toss out a shout out. A lot of people have said that they like to play the game while they listen to us. Mm-hmm. I did something similar. I was listening.
Are you going to plug our own podcast?
No, I'm going to plug somebody else's podcast.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'm a huge Star Trek fan.
Yeah.
Well, there's a podcast, and if you're a Star Trek fan yourself, and I'm talking to the listenership, if you like Star Trek, there is a podcast out there called Mission Log, and I thoroughly, highly recommend it. They started with the original series, and they went episode by episode. Then they went through the original cast movies, and now they're into Next Generation, and they're doing episode by episode.
Man, they have a lot of content panned out for them.
I think they just, they didn't just, but I did. I just passed episode 100.
Wow.
But they've still got more. And they're only into first season of the Next Generation.
And you know, if they ever run out of content show-wise, they can move into books.
That's right. Oh, my God.
Whenever they're Next Generation, they can do my favorite book.
Yeah. You know, literally, if they were doing Star Trek books, it would have to be the Next Generation. It would be like their children would have to continue it because there's so many of them.
There's only one book they need to do, though.
What?
Star Trek versus X-Men.
Oh, no.
It's a real book.
Is it really?
I've read it. Yeah. It's Star Trek The Next Generation.
Okay, I have a question. What happened when Captain Picard meets Professor X?
I don't know if they ever meet in that book.
That had to be confusing.
Actually, I have the answer to all of that.
What?
No matter what questions you have. Q was involved.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, if Q's involved, then all bets are off.
Now I understand. Yeah, it's what's interesting about listening to the Mission Log, especially as they're getting into the first season of Star Trek Next Generation. It took that show a while to find its footing. Mm-hmm. You know, so, I mean, they're unfortunately having to wade through some pretty stinker episodes.
Well, I mean, if they did it through the original Star Trek, I assume they can make it through Next Generation.
Well, with the original, it was like, it starts out great, and then it gets mediocre to bad.
Yeah.
Spock's brain. With Next Gen, it started out like mediocre to bad, and then got great.
Uh-huh.
And so it's like, it's almost an inverse.
Yeah, that's my opinion of Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
It started off, it's like, you guys don't really know what to do with this. And then later on, it's like, now you do.
Yeah.
There you go. No one's watching anymore, but it was good.
I thought, because I watched, I started watching Deep Space Nine when it first started airing, and I remember thinking, boy, they really don't know what they're doing here. And I think it's when the show got good is when they finally realized that we need to stop doing the other Star Trek, because the other Star Trek is we're on a spaceship and we go to the story.
Yeah.
What they started doing in the first couple of seasons was they said, okay, every episode the story comes to us. Some visitor comes to the station and that's the story. Finally, some writer went, they're stuck in the middle of this, the aftermath of a war that has all this ethnic hatred, and Starfleet's right in the middle of it. That's the story.
Yeah.
And that's when the show got good, when they finally went, hey, let's stop trying to bring the story in when the story's right here. So in case you folks were not aware of this, you're now listening to the latest Star Trek podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna give the what's it? We're gonna give Mission Log a run for their money.
Give them a run for their money. Anyway, shout out Mission Log if you like Star Trek. Listen to that podcast. I've been thoroughly enjoying it.
Yeah.
And they talk about a lot more than just Star Trek. They get into the philosophical and historical, and
that's cool.
There's a lot of stuff that goes on around what they're talking about, just like Star Trek. But let's do something amazing and actually talk about Kerbal Space Program. Mm-hmm. I'll go first on progress.
Go for it.
This is going to sound a little strange to anyone who listened to the last couple episodes, because prior to the release of the last update, 0.90, I was going gangbusters through the Joule system. Remember?
Yeah.
I had gone, and I'm going to say moon, not planet. I had gone to the furthest moon in the Joule system, which was Pole. Mm-hmm. Okay? Then I went to the closest in moon, which was Lathe. And at that point, I said, I'm going to start working my way back out. Okay?
Yeah.
And the last time I spoke with you, I was trying to get to Tylo, but I was having difficulty because of the intense gravity. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so I had redesigned a lander, and I was on my way back out when update 0.90 came out and rendered my saves inoperable.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time, and this was prior to the last episode. I spent a lot of that week messing around with 0.90 to kind of figure out what they had changed and to give my opinion. But I also spent a lot of that time rebuilding a lot of my ships because obviously I lost them when the update came out, and some of the mods and things rendered them to where, the game just couldn't bring them up.
So did you reinstall your mods and get them up to date and everything?
I did.
Okay.
I did, except for one. This will show you this is the epitome of laziness. Are you ready for this? I mentioned the last time, I had been using MechJeb because I like the data screens.
Yeah.
Okay. And MechJeb is what
This is the reason
0.90 did not like. But I found out that the latest update had no problem whatsoever with Kerbal Engineering 0.25. Okay. So I started using that. Well, within a few days of using that and putting it on all my ships, I booted up Kerbal Space Program, and I got a little window, and it said, an upgraded version of Kerbal Engineering is now available. Would you like to download it? And I was like, sure. I'm a responsible citizen. I pay my taxes. I'm going to keep my mods up to date. You bet. I want to do that. So I downloaded it.
Uh-huh.
And then I proceeded to do my usual, 5-6 hour Kerbal playing marathon, right?
Yeah.
And then, bleary eyed, I staggered into bed and passed out and, woke up the next morning and booted up Kerbal Space Program, and up came the window. Hey, there's an update for Kerbal Engineering. Would you like to download it? No, thank you. I already did, but I forgot to install it. And so I played for 5 or 6 hours, and then I stumbled into bed and fell asleep. And then I woke up the next time, and I booted up Kerbal Space Program. There's an update available. Would you shut up? This has been going on since. Every time I boot up the game.
Are you going to lose things if you do this?
No, honestly, all I need to do is install the upgraded Kerbal Engineering, but I keep forgetting. And so now, 2 or 3 weeks later, it's still going, hey, goofhead.
They actually have made some changes to Kerbal Space Program. If you ever need something like that, they put up a window that reminds you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It reminds me every time.
And you need to pay attention to that window.
The thing is this is where I get back to laziness.
Yeah.
All I would have to do, because I've already downloaded it, it's there. It's ready to be installed. And by install, all I have to do is copy it into the game folder. That's all I have to do. Okay? Mm-hmm. I haven't done it. 3 weeks later, and the game keeps going, hey, install the update. And I keep going, no. Because here's the hard work that I'm avoiding. I would have to, after the game has loaded and it has told me there's an update available, I'd have to exit out.
No, you wouldn't, because you already know you have to do this. You just have to do it before you open up the game.
Okay, great. Then thank you. You've made me even more lazy, because now all I have to do is Alt-Tab and copy it in, because it's already loaded whatever into memory. That's all I would have to do. I have yet to do it. Although I have a feeling after that rant, the next time I fire up the game before I start it, I'm probably going to go, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
After that rant, I'm probably going to remember.
After all the letters telling you to do it, I think that's what's going to do it.
Some of those letters we may not be able to read.
Yeah.
not keep our family friendly rating, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, so back to what I was saying. So I spent probably the week after 0.90 came out, I spent that week basically rebuilding my ships and playing around in career mode because I wanted to get some idea of what the changes made and give my opinion. And then after that, I said, okay, I'm going to go back to what I was doing before. I'm storming right back to the Joule system. And so I launched I launched. I built a big ship in orbit, and I called it Discovery, which, as we all know, is a nod to
The channel.
the Discovery Channel. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No, what is it? What is it a nod to?
The Bloodhound Gang song Discovery Channel.
Good Lord. 2001: A Space Odyssey. Nos is messing with me. You've had 2 weeks to think of that, haven't you?
I've been cooking this up.
Yeah. Hey, maybe it's been a good 2 week break for me too, you know. No, anyway, so yeah, I built a spaceship. I called it Discovery. I refueled it. I put the lander on it. I put the crew on it. Everything.
Yeah.
I got to my Joule transfer window. I sent it off. Okay. And then I tried to do. You remember several episodes back, I was talking about how I had done a high-speed refueling.
Yeah.
How I'd actually intercepted a ship that was leaving the Kerbal system, and I had done a refueling. Well, as par for the course with any time I learn something, it takes me a while to do it again.
Uh-huh.
Consequently, every time I've tried to do a high-speed intercept ever since,
Yeah.
what ends up happening is I have two ships leaving the Kerbal system. One slightly ahead of the other because I don't catch the main ship before it leaves the system. So what I ended up with was I had Discovery on its way to Joule, and then I had a tanker like following it. Hey, wait for me. And then once I was on my way, that's when I realized I forgot all about the rebuilt lander. What I had was the small little lander that I had been using on the other planets. Mm-hmm. Meaning that if I was going to get to Tylo, which is what I was trying to do, there was no way I was going to make it down and back up with this little lander. And I thought, okay, BOP, which is the next one out, has very light gravity and it's very small. So I can use the little lander and I can get to that. So I figure, okay, that's what I'll do. I'll instead of going for Tylo, which is what I was going for, I did orbit Tylo, but I never landed.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, I'm going to go to BOP. I'm going to land there. I'm going to come back to Kerbal. I'm going to build, the Big Mama Jamma Lander, okay, which is the official name. I've trademarked it.
Okay.
Big Mama Jamma Lander.
I'm not going to say it.
Okay. You shouldn't.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the big lander. I'm going to go back. I'm going to land on Tylo, and that will be it. I will have conquered the Joule system, okay? Well, I started while the other ships were making their way to Joule. Instead of time accelerating like I have done in the past, what I did instead was I was experimenting with building different things in orbit and trying different configurations. And so that's mainly what I've been doing for the last couple of weeks is building a lot of things and watching them explode in orbit because they're, by and large, poorly constructed. And a lot of times you don't know that they're poorly constructed until you actually get them up there and see how they operate. Mm-hmm. But so that's what I've been doing. And finally, a couple of days ago, I said, okay, well, I've got these other two ships and they're on their way to Joule. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and finish that. So I'll have that to talk about for the podcast. I misjudged, okay? Because like I said, Discovery went first and then the fuel tanker was behind it. Mm-hmm. Well, it looked like on the map, the fuel tanker was going to get there first. Okay. So I spent all this time getting the fuel tanker, into a Joule intercept. And I got it to where the, it was in a nice clean circle around Joule. And I did a lot of aerobraking to accomplish it. You make a real low periapsis, which, it depends somewhat on the size of the ship. Mm-hmm. But if you set your periapsis around Joule at about 130,000 kilometers, that typically is enough to bring your apoapsis down with each pass without sucking you into the atmosphere and burning up.
Yeah.
And we've talked about the black hole you get into when that happens.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, so by the time I got the tanker all squared away and I went back to map view, there was Discovery. And I was and it said Joule intercept. And I went, okay, Joule intercept should be like in a couple of months or a couple of days or whatever. And I looked at it and it was like, 10 years from now. And I was thinking, okay, that's odd. And the more I looked at it, the more I realized Discovery is past Joule.
Oh.
I spent all that time messing around with the tanker that Discovery went right past its encounter window and went right back into solar orbit.
Oh, man.
So now I've got three Kerbals, Jeb, Bob, and Bill.
Yeah. Growing beards.
Yeah, growing beards. And they are in solar orbit, and they have missed their encounter with the Joule system. So apparently what they did, because I already had the encounter set up, but until you fine-tune the encounter, you generally like pass way under it and then like leave the system again. So apparently while I was messing around with the tanker, Discovery, like way, way in the background, passed under me and then went back into solar orbit. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll just time accelerate and I'll get back to my Joule encounter. And so I started messing around with it, and I realized they're not set to encounter at all anytime soon.
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing was I just went, okay, fine. I just went in and I just deleted the ship. You're going to lose. You're going to die. They're all going to die. And I was, well, what can I do? It's either that or they're going to spend decades in space, and they probably all eat each other by then anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But surprisingly, I deleted the mission, and then I went back to the astronaut building, and all three of them were already there.
Oh,
so I
good.
thought, well, that's interesting, because usually it takes a good 2 or 3 days before they show back up.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what I've done instead, because at that point, the idea of going back to Joule, after that whole series of misadventures, the idea of building another ship in orbit and refueling it and putting in more crew members up there and getting the intercept window and all of that, it just seemed like more effort than I wanted. It was like, you remember how I've told you that there are times when the fun factor kind of just seeps away?
Yeah.
And you feel like you're doing work instead of playing. So what I decided to do at that point was I said, I haven't been to the Mun in forever. So I took my little lander, and I thought, because I had redesigned the lander, and I thought, okay, I'm going to test it. Because a lot of times what will happen is that I will design something, and then I'll go out to Joule, and that's when I discovered that something's not working. Mm-hmm. I thought, okay, this time I'm going to, take it to the Mun and try it out there. And so that's what I've been doing. I've been to the Mun twice since.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I've gotten better with the jetpack. Used to be what I used to do when I would land on the Mun. The guy would they would do their EVA, but I would never get out of, say, visual range of the lander. Mm-hmm. I would wander around enough to maybe go see a boulder or get a soil sample, whatever, and then I'd come back. Well, this time there was an impact crater. You could actually describe it as a valley. It was so big, but it was clearly, when you zoom out, it's clearly an impact crater or an impact basin. And so what I did was I used the jetpack to fly, I think it was 3 kilometers away.
Yeah.
And I ended up in the center of this thing. And I actually took some pictures. By the way, on Steam, I've changed my profile name. It is now Biff Aldrin.
Uh-huh.
So if you want to try and find me and look at some of my screenshots, they're all in there, because for some reason I keep hitting that F1 key.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I went to the basin, and then I came back to the lander, and then I took the lander back up and connected and came back to Kerbin, and I've done that twice since. I don't know why I love the Mun.
Me too.
The Mun to me is just it's easy to get to. It's not really a challenge.
Yeah.
But there's just something about the Mun to me is just so much fun. The Mun is fun.
The Mun is fun.
The Mun is fun.
It's kind of like whenever you go back, like when you're playing a video game or something,
Yeah.
And you go back and you play one of the previous levels,
Right.
and you're like, I can do better
Right.
at this level than I did before,
Mm-hmm.
but there's still a challenge in it, but the challenge is how much better I can do.
Mm-hmm.
So you go back to the Mun, even though you've been there a couple of times,
Right.
You're like, I just want to see if I can do it even better.
Right.
I know I can do it, so even if I didn't do it better, I'd still do it okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, the other thing too is as I said before, when I want to go to Joule, I basically have to do at least 5 or 6 different rendezvous, because I've got to put the pieces in orbit and assemble them. Then I have to refuel them. Then I have to put the crew up there, and then I have to get my transfer window and go. Mm-hmm. With the Mun, you can take a ship from the ground, go to the Mun, land, come back, go back to Kerbin, splash down, and be done with one ship.
yeah.
You can basically do a one and done. And if you get burned out on the work factor, I really don't feel like doing 10 more rendezvous to go back to the Joule system. Mm-hmm. It's kind of fun to just, I'm going to go to the Mun. I'm going to take a holiday weekend and go to the Mun. Mm-hmm. I hear it's nice this time of the year. So anyway, that's where I am. I know that sounds a little odd because I'm sure people that have been listening to the last couple of episodes have probably thought, he's had 2 weeks, he has no life. I'm sure by now he's invented warp drive and he's already in another galaxy.
Yeah.
And instead, it's like, no, I went to the mun. And I missed the Joule system. That was a fun moment, when I went back to map view and it was like, okay, where's Discovery?
Yeah.
Oh, it's way past Joule.
You're like, oh, well, there it is.
And I was thinking, well, where was my last save? And it was like,
no.
It was like, I think my last save was when they were leaving the Kerbal system.
Yeah. Welcome to Kerbal Space Program.
That's right. Sorry, that caught me off guard.
Any game I start, I go far enough into it, and I'm like, wait, when was my last save?
Yeah.
I'll just reload it because this was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Welcome to Kerbal Space Program. I'll be your guide. Like, oh no.
Here, let me teach you. Okay, your first mission is to get off the ground.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, I know you've been busy over the Christmas or the holiday season, but what's your progress? Did you overshoot Joule? I'm gonna say no.
So I started playing .90.
Okay.
Or .90.
0.90.
0.90.
We have to get our nomenclature correct.
It's the zero is always going to be in front of the point unless there's another 90.
Yeah, but remember that's the way they want to say it. So
I've been playing
since they are our, they're our overlords.
Yeah. So I've been playing.
We must obey.
This game. I'm playing it, and
I do
career mode.
There's a difference.
No, I've been I've been playing this thing, and I restarted my campaign, and I was talking last time. I was like, it's kind of harsh only doing 2 contracts,
right?
And so I go and I upgraded that, and really I was doing those 2 contracts and trying to make as much money as I could.
So you upgraded mission control?
I upgraded mission control.
Okay.
I switched to a money strategy to try to boost my money too, and all the other building upgrades are so expensive, like atrociously expensive.
We talked about, didn't we say that is it mission control that's the cheapest?
Yeah, and it takes you up to 7 missions, and you think, oh well, that'll help me make a lot of money, and I thought so too, until I started. The launch pad is really crappy. It can only take it can only take a little bit of weight, and you can only do so many parts.
It's funny you mention that because we have a letter later in the show that talks about exactly what you're talking about.
I only have 30 parts,
right,
from my crappy VAB.
Hey, parts is parts.
Yeah, and so, but I'll be okay. I want to go into orbit, so I want to make something that can get me into orbit.
Right.
Well, it's too heavy for your launch pad. Okay, so I spent the money to upgrade my launch pad, but now I don't have the money to build the thing that gets me into orbit.
What do you think of those explosion effects of the launch pad?
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't it look like Dante's Inferno?
Yeah.
Because, literally the flames just are rising off of the ground.
So that sets me back a lot of money.
Right.
So then I got to do part testing. But the part testing contracts don't really pay off enough to make up for the parts you may lose while testing that part. Mm-hmm. So I need to make something that can make it back.
Again, the subject of a later letter.
Yeah. So I'm trying to complete these missions, and I'm breaking even about half the time. So I'm really trying to figure out how to simplify my rockets enough to where I make some money.
Is that new to 0.90 for you, or was that your experience prior to that?
I didn't have as many money troubles before because you start off with such a surplus of money.
So 0.90 is kind of up to the difficulty level.
Yeah, and I didn't do anything to up the difficulty. I did it just standard. Okay. Whatever difficulty setting it was on, that's the one I did.
Okay.
So I'm, trying to get enough money to make a facility that'll build a rocket to complete these missions, but I can't complete the missions even though I upgraded the facility because I don't have the money that I used to spend on the facility to upgrade. It was like this downward spiral.
You know what? They should have called this upgrade Catch 0.22.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it sounds like it.
Yeah. So it's like I'm not really gaining enough, so I keep doing these parts contracts. I only do the ones that pay off massively. And I try to get it to where it pays off at least twice what I would spend to do it.
Right.
And I'm just now building up enough money. It's like, okay, now I can build something that can go up and maybe get orbit and do all that. And complete a couple contracts. Well, if you want to make a balanced spaceship, let's say you're testing a radial decoupler or the radial parachutes or something. Well, you're probably going to need to put more than just one on because it mounts on the side.
Right.
So you need to put like 4. But that costs money.
Right.
For something that's you're just going to spend to make you some money.
Can you not do like 2?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
If you do a symmetry 4 thing, sometimes that would throw me off on the weight distribution. Mm-hmm. But it kind of depends. Sometimes it threw me off, sometimes it didn't, depending on what it was.
Yeah, a lot of what we talk about in many cases has to do with the ship itself.
Yeah.
Some ships are fine with 2 symmetry. Mm-hmm. And then some ships...
Like everything's 4 symmetry except for one part that's 2 symmetry, but it just can't handle it.
And it just throws everything off.
So there were a couple missions that were explore parts of Kerbin. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I'll build a space plane, and I'll just glide around, and I won't be able to land the thing because I'm awful at it. But I would have, gotten 3 contracts for, exploring.
That raises a question. Can you bail out of a space plane?
Yeah, I think you just hit EVA.
Just EVA?
Yeah.
Okay, because see, I'm, again,
he
I
doesn't
don't...
have a parachute.
I don't mess with space plane. Oh, that's right.
So you could bail out, but I don't think it would do you much, good.
The bail and splat.
Yeah. So, the runway. Right. Have you seen the runway? In 0.90?
There is a later letter that's coming up. I don't mess with this much. But my understanding is the early stage runway.
It's a gravel road, pretty much.
Yeah,
so it's like an old dirt road with potholes.
Yeah.
So
it's like the Wright brothers are looking at it, going, "No way."
I started. I got a space plane, but I noticed my staging was out of order, and while I'm adjusting it, it's rolling backward down the thing. So I'm like, so I hit my brakes.
You forgot the parking brake mod.
Yeah. So I throw my brakes on, and I'm like, I set everything up. And the thing's wobbling the entire time. It just can't stay stable. And so then I'm trying to pull up, and the thing just crashes, and it's awful.
For just an instant, I was wishing this was a video podcast so everybody could see your body language. Because you were just, it was like you were doing the twist.
Yeah. I was just wobbling all over the place.
Twist
so
in,
I was like,
shake it, baby.
I'm going to lose quite a bit of money off crashing all these space planes also.
Right.
Not to mention, I hadn't really gotten the science to get all the parts because going on a suborbital, like way out to try to just get a whole bunch of science, is out of the question because I would lose so much money that way. I feel really like...
Why? Can you elaborate why? Why would you lose so much money doing that?
Because if the ship didn't make it back completely safely, I would gain science, but I wouldn't gain money.
Gotcha. Okay.
So unless I was doing a bunch of suborbital contracts.
Gotcha.
Like if I wanted to do that sun thing where you just fly to the sun, into orbit around the sun, and then you come right back, I would gain a lot of science, but it wouldn't make me any money.
We were talking about Star Trek earlier. They have firmly established that if you fly around the sun, you'll go back in time. You could go back in time and
Yeah, the old Superman defense.
There you go.
Yeah.
Don't get me going on that.
Yeah. So,
I love Superman, but there are moments where I just go, "Oh, come on."
But it's just got increasingly difficult, to where I just feel like pigeonholed in this spot to where it's like, well, I have enough money to launch some real basic rockets. But if those rockets don't make me money, I might as well not launch them. Mm-hmm. Now, if I were to be doing this without reverting, I don't know where I would go from here, because I would be doing real basic part testing. I'd basically be declining contracts until landed at Kerbin contracts came up because those involve 0 money loss.
Okay.
So it's just right now I've been playing and I played more than I usually do because every time I was like, no, it can't be like this. There's got to be something I just haven't figured out yet. Mm. And I would go back and I'm like, no, it's still not happening. So,
all right, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you a question that we did not discuss beforehand that we were going to bring up, but I'm curious listening to what you're saying. When we did our review of 0.90, that was a couple of weeks ago, and you've had a lot more time in the game now. And we even said that, our opinions will evolve and we'll revisit this.
Yeah, because we didn't have much time with it.
I'm curious, has your opinion of 0.90 evolved? Has it changed?
I would say changed, but I would not say for the better.
Okay.
It is just, it's different. Like, whenever they did, 0.24 to 2.5 and those, I was like, oh, they're bringing in all this cool stuff. It's now like I have all these new things I can do, but I can't actually do them. Mm-hmm. It's like, you played Fable, right?
Oh, yeah.
You remember Fable 1, you start off and it's like, here's the mission selection screen. Mm-hmm. And there was like, oh, stop the rebellion in this foreign country. And you're like, oh, that sounds awesome. Oh, you're not high enough level to do that. Mm-hmm. But you can go collect chickens. Like, oh, by the time I've collected chickens, will I be high enough level to do that? No, actually, that mission is just to make you think that you'll do cool things later, but you'll never actually get to do that thing.
You'll kill boars in the woods for 2 points.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah. So far, my impression now that I've had more time with it, I feel like all the buildings cost so much that I don't want to buy them because I won't have the money to use them for what I bought them for.
Okay.
So like the
catch 0.22.
Yeah, VAB has a maximum of 30 parts. Struts are parts.
Really?
Everything is a part.
Really?
So I like everything is a piece.
Well, I'm saying that like I'm surprised, but after I thought about it for about a second, and I went, yeah, I guess that would make sense because to the game, a part is a part. It doesn't matter what the part is.
And I'm looking at all the parts I'm using, and I know this was part of the intention. I'm looking at the parts I'm using, and struts are like $45, and I'm like, well, I'm using 4 of those, so that's $180, and this contract's only getting me $5,000. So I mean, that's a good percentage of it are struts that are attached to boosters that are going to fall off of this thing and blow up. So
would you say that your opinion of 0.90 is probably come down a bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, until I find some balance and find out how to really get, because I'm using the money-making strategies, and they're helping a little bit, but still not a whole lot.
Right.
So I just haven't either found out exactly how I'm supposed to approach this, or it just became far less beginner-friendly.
I had mentioned earlier about when the fun kind of siphons out and it starts becoming work. It almost sounds like you're saying the same thing I said.
Yeah. It's, I've had that come and go. Like, I would reach a new obstacle, like Rendezvous. And the obstacle was I didn't understand it. And, like, I didn't understand the procedure to do it. With this, it's like I need to find out some build order thing. And maybe if I excelled at it, like, let's say I found it out, I would probably build really, like, economically sound ships. But I spent so much time doing that, I have a feeling I wouldn't have... If I spent the same amount of hours I did in my previous campaign runs, I wouldn't have been at the MUN yet because I would have spent so much time doing part testing.
Right.
So,
and we all know our opinion of part testing.
Yeah, it's just
not good.
If they paid off like 50K, and it only cost me like 15 to 20K to do it, not so bad. But a lot of these are paying like 5K.
I will say, you mentioned something in the last podcast, and it sounded so good when you said it, and it still sounds good. I would love it if the part testing had scalable levels.
Yeah.
It's what you said was, you can scale the difficulty, which increases, obviously it increases the reward. But it all, again, makes it more difficult.
Yeah, I mean...
the idea of being able to, like do level 1 part testing and just bam, 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 knock a bunch out.
Yeah, I mean, if they set, it's like I said last time, if like a 1-star, you could set your part testing to 1 star, and it was like, you need to be this speed above this, altitude. Okay, well, it's only 2 parameters. I need to be above this speed or in this speed range and the altitude. But the problem with a lot of the part testing, it's this speed to this speed. Yeah. This altitude to this altitude.
We've talked about this.
And it's like
so frustrating.
Yeah, and you're like, I'll have one, but not the other. So then I'll have to maybe on my descent I'll have it. Yeah. But I may not have the fuel to counter my speed to hit it right. And okay, well, I built this rocket to do one purpose, and I now have to revert and try it again and make a minor adjustment. And you have to do that a lot. But I wasn't doing it to discover something. I was doing it to get the money to build a rocket to go discover something. What you're describing describes very well why I play Sandbox and Science and not Career. And the reason is Kerbal is a very unique game. There really is no game out there like this one. And the thing that I love about Kerbal, and the reason that I have spent so much time, I haven't looked at my hour count, but I'm close. I would guess I'm close to 1,100 because I know I was 1050 something last time, something like that. Yeah. Now that if I'm not over 1,100, I'm close. Yeah. I spend a lot of time in this game. What I love about this game is and I'll use the word sandbox. I love the fact that it is a gigantic sandbox
with planets and moons and spacecraft and, semi-realistic rules that I have to follow. There are no missions other than what I designate, i.e., go to every moon in the Joule system. I want to start going back to Eve again.
Yeah.
Because, Eve was something I was doing earlier in the game. Now that I'm further along and I'm more experienced, I would like to try and go back to Eve again, because Eve was always, I don't know that I've ever been to Eve and back where it was like, that was easy.
Yeah.
Eve and back missions to me were kind of like, wow, I barely made it out of there.
Yeah, look what I did.
Yeah. It was like by the skin of my teeth, I got out of there. And so I would like to revisit that. But see, those are mission goals, or those are accomplishments and things that I'm setting for myself. What makes Kerbal unique and what makes me not burn out on it and what makes me want to play it over and over and over is that it is a gigantic sandbox and I can do anything I want to in it. Now, anything I want to doesn't mean that I can, fly around with infinite fuel and ignore gravity and all kinds of other things.
But
I
could
can
if you wanted.
I could if I wanted to, but that's no fun.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want within the parameters set by the game, and that's what's unique about the game. A lot of games force, even if it's free for all, they force mission parameters on you. I know I bring up Call of Duty a lot, but for example, when you get Call of Duty, there's the single-player missions, which are generally fairly short. They assume that you're going to blaze through those and then spend the rest of the time doing multiplayer, right?
Yeah.
Well, even multiplayer, nobody is walking around in multiplayer going, you know what, I'm going to explore, or I'm going to this, or I'm going to whatever, because no, every jackass out there with a gun is taking pot shots at you. So the game is forcing a play style on you. Kerbal, on the other hand, goes, here's this gigantic environment. Do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about Kerbal, and that's why I have not burned out on it. I cannot name a game to this date that I have not burned out on, because up to a certain point, I've done everything there is to do. In Kerbal, even if you've done Rendezvous, the first time you do it and the 1,000th time you do it, it's not the same.
Yeah.
There's something always different. Rendezvous the first time is like, okay, I'm doing it just to see if I can do it. Well, the time when you do it the 1,000th time, it's because you're building a ship, or you're, in lunar orbit, or you're coming back from something, or you're going somewhere, or you're rendezvousing, but it's not the circumstances under which you're rendezvousing are not always the same. And what I like about Sandbox Kerbal is that the emphasis is on space exploration and space flight. I don't care about part testing.
Yeah.
I don't care about upgrading buildings. I do like science mode generally, because I do like working my way through the tech tree. I think that I can fall into bad habits in Sandbox, because in Sandbox, if you've got every part available, you will typically build bigger ships than you need, and you'll use more powerful parts than you need. You'll go to the Mun and you'll have a ship that would take you outside the solar system, and all you're doing is going to the Mun.
Yeah.
Well, in science mode, when the Mun is the only thing you can get to, generally it's with something that is barely powerful enough to get you there and back. And so you learn an economy in science mode. And I've worked my way through the tech tree several times. I keep saying tech tree, but it's science tree.
Yeah, yeah.
Or well, I guess technically it's technology.
It's technology.
Yeah, okay, tech tree. We'll go with tech tree. But that's what I like about it. As long as the emphasis is on space exploration and space flight, that's what I like about Kerbal. I don't care about the rest of it.
Yeah.
Now, there are people that love it. And I think it's great that they can play their game and I can play my game. And we can talk. I think that's great.
Yeah.
And I'm not running down career mode. I'm not interested in it.
Yeah. See, I like the career mode. It just gives me more things.
That was an epic rant, wasn't it?
It was just,
Wow.
You had some feelings and you let them out, and that's
I
good.
guess so.
It's good to let out your feelings.
To Kerbal or not to Kerbal?
Yeah. So
That's never a question with me.
one of the things that I think is neat about career mode is working on that, the different strategies, and whenever you bring back and get a lot of money and a lot of science, it feels even more cool than whenever you bring back a lot of science in science mode, because like, boom, I'm rich. What's funny is what I really like is
I
when
wish I could say that in real life.
yeah.
Boom, I'm rich.
What's funny is I just realized this as I was saying it, is what I look forward to most is when I have so much money I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about what I'm building. I can just build
Sandbox. Sandbox. I'm sorry. I got something stuck in my throat there.
Another thing that sort of got me on the building costs were the cheapest buildings are the mission control, where you do your contracts, and like the Kerbal Recruitment Center, or wherever, the cafeteria, whatever it is.
The cafeteria.
Yeah, the Kerbalteria. Those are the cheapest ones. So from a game standpoint, it looks like those are the ones I should probably buy first, because it's like whenever you're a starting hero in an RPG, usually the cheaper stuff is probably what you should buy,
right?
Because that's the stuff you can afford, and it'll make you a little bit better, so you can move to the next thing.
Yeah,
I don't see a reason to buy the Kerbalteria. It doesn't matter,
Well, it's like I've mentioned before how much I've enjoyed in the past Civilization games.
Yeah.
There are early stage technologies that I don't care about, but eventually you have to have them to go on to the stuff you do
lead
care
to something
about.
else. And I may need that, but right now it's cheap and it's pointless.
Yeah.
So the launch pad, so I wanted more missions. That was a good idea, you know, so I could do more missions at once. Well, it turns out I shouldn't have bought that because I don't have enough money to complete more than 2 missions at a time. So I probably shouldn't have done that. Well, the launch pad was probably a good idea because I'm restricted by weight. But if I'm building a big ship, I'm probably going to complete more than a couple contracts. So those are probably 2 I really need.
That's interesting to me that not the launch pad, because I had some experience with that, but the fact that the runway
costs more than both of those buildings.
Wow.
Yeah, and see that's the hard part. Okay, let's say the simulation I'm trying to build is a space program from the ground up. So I'm probably more likely to start with planes than I am with rockets, because we built those first,
Because of the limitations imposed on you by career, I'm guessing a lot of the stock planes are not available early stage.
I haven't checked.
Okay.
I always forget to check that.
Because the one thing I did when I was messing around, and again, this goes back to space box. Listen to me, sandbox. I did try the stock space plane. And I discovered I can't fly that worth a flip either.
Yeah, so I'm trying to build little scrap ones and do it on my, my dirt road to launch off of there, because I can't afford to upgrade that thing. And still,
does it make it more difficult to taxi and get off the ground? And
yeah, because you're wobbling around a lot. It's not a smooth transition. It's a bumpy road.
Interesting.
Yeah, what's funny is it's actually more bumpy than just the grass.
You would think that right there makes me think that like a force feedback joystick would be interesting, because you'd be...
yeah.
Here, let me do a sound effect for that.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
So even though it would probably realistically cost more to pave and completely level and make a good runway, it should not be more expensive than, some of the other buildings.
Right. That surprises me that is so expensive.
Well, it's realism. I think what it may be is it's realistically cost more, so they made it cost more. But that doesn't matter when it's in a game, because we're not going for realism. Maybe
the cost of asphalt will come down. I don't know.
yeah. Maybe I just need a time warp until that happens.
There's like an asphalt shortage on some
watch the stock market.
Yeah.
This sounds depressing enough. But so far, my experience with career I've handled it calmly. I haven't just gotten mad yet. I've gotten mad at a couple of things at Kerbal before, like something wasn't working, or I didn't like the interface of something. But it seems like you're hitting a wall. And so you're really just kind of scrounging around trying to see what you can do to get you a little bit closer to not being stuck.
You do a good Kerbal voice. Curse at me in Kerbal.
I'm a little tired. That would probably all get beeped out.
Very good.
Pretty profane.
You know what? You've given me an idea. I'm going to toss. We usually do this. We usually toss out a question to the listenership. I'm going to toss one out now. For folks who play career mode, Is there an order that you have found to be most efficient?
Yeah, and not just for buildings. Like I bought this building, then I built rockets to complete these kind of missions, then I got this building and moved my way up.
And I would even say, are there certain contracts that seem to, especially early stage, that seem to enhance or get you further along faster?
Yeah. Oh, that was another.
That would be interesting.
Another one of the restrictions on the launch pad is height.
Height?
Yeah. What's funny is, you know how whenever you put your the girder to couplers, the ones that hold your rocket up.
Yeah.
I had it up too high, and it's like, your rocket's too high. So I just clicked it and moved it down, and it's like, okay.
So let me get this straight. You can't ride this ride if you're above this height.
Yeah.
So it's Disney World.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's a small Kerbin after all.
Yeah, it's a small curve in it. You know, so I know somebody's going to make a joke about it being Mickey Mouse, but
Yeah.
I'll leave that to them.
Yeah, so I would like to hear how other people approach it. I
Okay.
mean, did I just make a couple bad buys in the beginning and, it's not paying off for me or what? Because
there's a couple of things I'm curious about, and based on what you've said. Number one, the order of things, the order of upgrades, the order of contracts, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. The other thing I'm curious about, we got a lot of feedback early on about 0.90. And as you had said, your opinion has evolved in just the, 2 or 3 weeks since it's been out.
Yeah.
I am curious, again, to the listenership. Has your opinion evolved? Did you think 0.90 was the greatest thing ever, and now you're thinking, I'm starting to see some problems here?
Yeah, and I remember.
Or do you think it's even more the greatest thing ever?
Remember whenever I tried to make the file where I was just doing unforgivably bad at the game?
Yeah.
Just see if I could just go bankrupt
Yeah.
and not be able to even build basic rockets.
Mm-hmm.
And you always ended up you would never go into negative money and taking on contracts to get enough money to do stuff.
Honestly, those stories were hilarious.
I'm wondering, I don't think I can sell my buildings. So I don't think I could get that money back.
You can destroy them, but you can't sell them.
Yeah, so I don't think I don't know. I'll have to check again, but from what I saw, I can't sell my buildings in order to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm like, oh man, actually I probably needed the money to complete more contracts before I spent all that money on this building.
I would think typically with video games, the very few games I've ever run into where you can un-upgrade.
Yeah.
Generally, when you upgrade something, that's money that's been spent.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, if I upgraded...
There's no getting it back.
If I upgraded the Kerbalteria, and I'm like, wait, I need that $20K for something. I'm like, well, I guess I got to take on a bunch of contracts I won't complete.
I hear they make a mean pepper steak.
Yeah. So you have to... I'm almost at the point I'll accept any contract that comes through, which is a maximum of 7, spend the money, and then cancel the contracts. Because I can't go into negative money. I'm almost I'm at the point I'm almost about to start exploiting the game.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that was our fun little romp through 0.90.
Well, I know that you have stuck with career mode from the beginning, and your feeling has always been, I'm the more mid-level player.
Yeah, I'd still say I'm a beginner, but I'm a beginning player and I play casually.
Right.
I don't hardcore turn out hours on anything. So anytime something
You leave that
happens,
to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anytime something happens,
Right.
Like they change the game, I start over. That way I can experience it through the eyes of somebody who just started like I did, so many months ago. And right now it seems real harsh for somebody who especially doesn't know how to play the game.
I just thought of a new tagline for Kerbalcast.
What?
NOS suffers so you don't have to.
Yeah. Send your old NOS nod out there.
A little nod to NOS. The NOS nod. Wow. Do you, what I was leading up to was, you have always stuck with career mode and you have always tried to play it from the beginning, from a beginner's perspective.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself at any point transitioning into science or sandbox, or are you going to stick with?
I'm adamantly still sticking with career mode because this is their vision for the game. Mm-hmm. So I want to see what that vision is because sandbox mode, that I could always have the game that I currently have. Like sandbox will always be the same.
Okay.
The new parts will be added or things like that will change, but for the most part, I won't get all of the experience of every time they do an update.
I'm going to toss out a hypothetical.
Okay.
Squad actually buys one of your $1 million ideas,
Okay.
and you are Daddy Warbucks, and you go down there and you buy Squad,
Okay.
and you are the big boss man,
Yeah.
and whatever you say, they have to do. Okay? So Daddy Nosbucks comes walking into Squad,
Yeah.
and he says, these are the changes I want made in 0.90 to make it a more fun game. What does Daddy Nosbucks say?
Scalable contracts, like I'd mentioned.
Okay.
A redo of building costs. I'm assuming I'm staying within the parameters of the game.
Explain, redo building costs, what do you mean?
To gauge them off of when the player needs them instead of how much they should cost, how much they should cost to a new player.
Okay.
So some buildings should not be in the hundreds of thousands.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's like you should be able to just afford them whenever it would need to progress in the game. So somebody who wanted to build space planes should not do campaign mode. They just shouldn't.
Okay.
Like if you wanted to build rockets, campaign mode is nice to you, but otherwise you're going to have to build rockets to unlock the things to do space planes. So I would make it to where things that could help you get contracts done, you could do that. Like it would be an easier entry point. And
it almost sounds like you're saying uncomplicate the plumbing.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're making a lot of great moves. I'm not going to tell them to like completely change something or to add something completely different. It's just rescale it.
Okay.
I think is most of what I'd say.
I really, and Squad they may have pictures of me in their office with darts,
Yeah.
That they're throwing, but I love the idea of scalable contracts.
Yeah.
And understand, I'm speaking as a person that has no interest in any contracts.
Yeah.
But just the idea of a scalable contract sounds good to me.
Yeah, and I mean, I could, do multiple parts contracts in one flight, and I could have them at different difficulties. So I could do one, like, let's say I have 3 of them that would activate somewhere, past somewhere higher than 15K.
Right.
So I would have all those, and then I had one that activates, it's still in that range, but if I up the difficulty on it and I get my speed right, I can do this one at 3 stars and these 2 at 2 stars, all in one hit. I would totally do that. Because one, I'm going to gain a lot of money off of it, which is going to make me do a lot of contracts, which makes me think about doing more contracts. And 2, it just feels cool to have that many things blip at once. Like, it's really cool when you go in an RPG and, like, you kill something and you level twice.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, man, I leveled twice. You
Yeah.
know, oh, man, I hit 3 contracts in that, I managed to set it right to where I had a perfect window to score this much money in this many contracts. And that's highly appealing to me, far more so than trying to make sure I don't lose money doing one contract so I could try to not lose money doing another contract.
It seems to me that scalable contracts solves a multitude of problems.
Yeah.
It sounds like the complaints that we hear typically about parts contracts. Maybe I'm wrong. It just sounds like the ability to do different levels or scalable difficulty, that seems to solve a lot of the complaints.
I think it would.
It's kind of like it's like a happy medium
Yeah.
almost. It's like you still have the contracts, but you make them less cumbersome.
I design board games. I don't design video games. So I mean, maybe there's a lot more to it than that.
Right.
And I think maybe even scaling or making the gaps in leveling a building smaller, because I jumped from 2 contracts to 7 as my maximum.
Right.
I haven't hit 7. I haven't accepted 7 contracts unless I was accepting them just for the entry money.
I could see you talk about, you design board games, and we can do a plug. You want to do a shameless plug? You want to do Nos has a game coming out.
Oh yeah, Garbage Day, and it's still in development, but it should be out this year.
Right. I could see you like down the road, you come out with a board game called Kerbal Space Program.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. Let me write that down.
Let me write that down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Send your lawsuit to Dear Nos, copyright infringement.
Yeah.
So, I mentioned $1 million idea. I forgot I have one.
Oh no. Another one?
Another one. Oh,
previous?
yeah, my list.
Yeah.
Honestly, if they ever accepted all of my $1 million ideas,
Hell,
I would be daddy.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Biff Bucks.
Biff Bucks.
Biff Bucks. My $1 million. This came from. You remember I said that I had gone back to the mine and I hadn't been there in a while.
Yeah.
And I was talking about my EVA. Mm-hmm. First person. When you're doing an EVA, imagine being able to do a first person view.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can do a first person view, an IVA, when you're inside the ship.
Yeah.
Imagine being able to walk around with a first person view. And you don't even have to, frame it with the helmet. Mm-hmm. But, you can zoom in to a point. You can't, it's like you can't like zoom in through their heads, which you can in some games. You can actually zoom in so far that your field of view actually.
I don't know. I think this would backfire on you because you would see how close you got to the ladder each time you missed it.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
It's so close.
Well, if that keeps up, I may come up with a rule of thumb where I only go to planets where the gravity is low enough to where I can jump and get back up there. Because I've had so much trouble with landers, with ladders, with ladder landers.
Yeah.
That's a tongue twister, isn't it?
It's
It's funny. We did a full-blown review of 0.90. I think, what was it, the last episode?
Uh-huh.
This kind of like is an even more full-blown.
Yeah, like our extensive.
Yeah, it's like 0.90 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
It's been 3 weeks, right?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay.
New Year's was pretty hard on us both,
Oh, you had blackouts too?
I don't remember.
Yeah. Very good. Well, does that do it for our progress?
That does it.
Okay. Progress and $1 million idea.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to move on to mission briefing?
Let's
do that. We have more letters now than we normally do, and obviously it's because we're doing 2 weeks of letters.
Yeah, we're a little backed up.
Some of these might seem a little dated simply because of the 2 week factor, but we have quite a few.
Yeah.
And you actually have more than I do. So why don't you go first, and why don't you knock out a couple?
Okay, we're starting with a news story. This is the Game Developers Conference. It happens in San Francisco, California, March 2nd through the 6th. You can find it at www.gdconf.com.
And there's a reason we're mentioning this.
So,
because guess who's going to be there?
Kerbal Space Program has grown into a landmark game, but when Squad greenlit KSP, creator and lead developer Felipe didn't know how much time he'd have to make the game. With each update potentially being the game's last, he wanted to make sure his passion project would end up being something he was proud of, even if he didn't get to accomplish everything he wanted. This approach helped KSP become much more than he ever anticipated, and something of a poster child for a successful paid alpha or early access title. At GDC 2015, Felipe will explain how it happened and walk you through the game's ongoing development in his Postmortem, the active development of Kerbal Space Program session. Hear the story behind the development of KSP through its many updates, learn about its successes and failures, and walk away with a better understanding of what it takes to survive and thrive in early access. Okay, so that was Game Developers Conference. We're now on to our next letter.
Did I list who gave us that article, or did I miss that?
No, it wasn't on there.
Oh, I'm such a goofball. Sorry, there's a source for that article, and I didn't put it in there. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, this letter comes from Acronymus. I fully recommend buying a desktop or assembling one yourself, but don't try to buy a PC labeled as a gaming PC. They are usually overpriced. For KSP, you want to have a CPU with a strong core due to the Unity engine running on one core on the CPU. For other games, it is recommended to have a mix of CPU and GPU power, though. I hope I could help. Fly safe and brake before hitting the surface. Acronymus.
Do you remember what that's in reference to?
We had talked about... I think it was me talking about building a laptop, or
and also somebody had written in and was asking about it.
Yeah. I remember that one too. We've had a couple people that have written in saying they have wonky computers that don't handle a crazy amount, and I'm thinking about building a machine for it. Mm-hmm. And then my job has me out on the road a lot, so I was thinking about getting a laptop equipped to play Kerbal also.
Somebody had mentioned to me, I believe it was in a letter, something that I wasn't aware of, and I had always wondered why my G-Whiz-Bang graphics cards weren't really helping much.
Uh-huh.
And they were saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody knows differently. But my understanding from what I was told is that the game essentially runs on, you know how you get multi-threading processing?
Yeah.
You know, where it's multi-processors working on the same thing all at once. Kerbal, because all the parts have to work together, works on one processor, or it only runs on one processor. Mm-hmm. I hope I'm saying that correctly, but that explains, because somebody was telling me, they were saying make sure that you have a good core processor, because that's where most of the work is being done, or a lot of the work is being done.
I think that was the letter I just read.
Okay. Well, I wasn't listening. You know, when you talk, I just zone out.
Okay, well, you go ahead and talk then.
So I'm moving on to my next letter. Okay, next letter. This is from North Star, and I always look forward to his letters because they're usually very technical and they're very on the money. And ironically, he is going to comment on a lot of the things that you said, even though he didn't know he was commenting on a lot of the things you said, because he wrote the letter before you said them. So, gonna go back in time. Okay, this is from North Star. Biff and Nos. Some thoughts on the latest Kerbalcast. Another excellent program as always, and particularly on 0.90. First of all, I wholeheartedly agree with Biff's sentiment on parts contracts. Nothing, all caps, annoys me more than them. However, you do know that you can reject any contract by clicking the red X instead of the accept button. There is no penalty for doing so, and the rejected contracts will usually be replaced by something different. I often use this to reject parts contracts, or at least the most annoying ones, so I can get more interesting missions. Occasionally, I have used for parts contracts to provide me experimental access to parts I haven't unlocked yet, however. Second, I'm not a big fan of the upgradable buildings at all. Not only do I think it was completely unnecessary and a huge waste of squad's resources that would have been better spent pushing better dynamics, in situ resource utilization, or maybe fixing the thrust ISP relationship to atmospheric density, so it is thrust that changes as your rocket climbs rather than fuel flow like in real life. I also think that upgradable facilities, again all caps, massively slows down the early game. Personally, I like to play with the most advanced technologies available, and often also install many mods that include technologies that are possible today but don't see common use yet, like thermal turbojets, electromagnetic mass drivers, or microwave beamed power. None of these things, whether the SLS-style rocket parts or the futuristic technology, are really feasible until I have unlocked the later tiers of the tech tree and built up a substantial cash reserve. For me, the space programs before Apollo are not interesting to relive, and Apollo only marginally so. I am motivated by a desire to do new things that haven't been done yet in real life, like manned landing to Mars, i.e. KSP's analog Duna. I like to push the boundaries of what is possible today, but relive the past. I feel cheated by Squad. I feel all the upgradable facilities have done is drag out the game's progression without adding any new or interesting content. I am, all caps, never a fan of, quote, features that only serve to increase difficulty for the sake of increasing difficulty. Add no features, and were clearly not motivated by a desire to improve realism. Anyways, an excellent program all in all. I apologize for the long rant against upgradable facilities. Regards, North Star.
I will say that, remember whenever they introduced funds and they introduced reputation and they didn't have much of a point?
Yeah.
I think they're not completely done with it, but they're introducing the feature. Mm-hmm. And, the game's not done yet.
Right.
So I'm hoping that something will come along that will make those more prevalent.
Right.
Like you could upgrade your buildings in different ways or something.
I think maybe part of the reaction, though, is when they came out with this one, and they said beta than ever. That's the title of this latest upgrade. They basically said, this is the game that we have been working towards. Mm-hmm. Whereas they never said that with 0.24, and they didn't say that with 0.25.
Yeah.
So I think there's a feeling amongst the Kerbal community that this is I won't say set in stone, but I think there's kind of a feeling that this is closer to the final version than we've been.
Yeah.
But that is a good point. I had not considered that. You're right. There may be
something on the horizon they're going to do with it. So right now we're just seeing a part of it. The other thing is,
this might be chapter 2 in a trilogy for all we know.
Yeah,
so.
it could be hard on players who have already been playing the game for a while to go back and be like, wait, I don't have access to everything I did before. Which everyone's redone science mode, and they've had to unlock stuff. But to be set back that far and to have the restrictions slapped on top of it, for someone who already knows and has experienced the game, it's probably a lot harder for them to go back and experience it like that. So, I mean, if anyone has just started playing the game with this update, I would love to hear what they think of that so far.
That's a good... yeah, you're right. I would love to hear that. Someone who just came... Because I know... Remember, they had the Steam sale over the holiday.
Yeah.
And there were more than a few people I saw on Twitter and other places that were saying, hey, there's this thing, Kerbal.
Yeah.
Should I get it?
Mm-hmm. So if any of you know somebody who just started the game with this update, like write a letter on their behalf if you want. Just ask them, what do you think of it? And try not to instill your opinion. Just see, do they think that it's like, yeah, this game's really hard to actually get anything going?
Yeah.
Or it's fine.
I said it earlier. I will repeat it. Anything that is not space exploration and space flight, I'm not really interested in.
Yeah.
But again, I'm just me. There are other players that they love career mode, and the more complicated it gets, the more they love it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not taking anything away from them because, they're Kerbalers just like I am.
Yep.
But, I think North Star and I are very much on the same page.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely see where he's coming from.
Let's see. Next letter is you.
Yep, this one comes from Whisker Fox.
Not that you wrote the next letter.
No, I didn't write it. Whisker Fox did.
Okay.
I purchased a Razor Tartarus. This is a gaming keypad. I have orientation, throttle, and operational controls on the keypad. I have translation controls set to the thumbstick. It has made docking easier and easier on the elbow. For normal operation, the only thing I have to go back to the regular keyboard for is time acceleration. Definitely appreciating the advanced orientation controls in version 0.90. Who will rescue the rescuers? Whisker Fox.
That was in a I keep referencing what these are referencing because it's been 2 weeks.
Yeah, so you've read them, but it's it's entered
it's been a while.
Entered your thought stream.
But
so.
we had some questions about alternate control schemes and different configurations on the keyboard and things like that. So that was in response to that. Mm-hmm. Okay. Am I the next letter?
Yeah.
Okay. Death Saber says, "Hi guys. Beta Than Ever has to be the corniest title I've ever heard. Title aside, I'm really loving the new update. I feel that 0.25 didn't really change career mode much for me. By comparison, 0.90 has really made a big difference. Now career mode makes sense for me." This is what I was talking about.
That was something I wanted to hear.
This is somebody that, that's career mode is the game for them.
Yeah.
And that's what I was just talking about. Back to Death Saber. So far, I've made it to the Mun once and done a bunch of contracts. Some of those survey contracts are a lot easier with a space plane, although I find it really disconcerting how bumpy the first runway is.
Yep.
Have you tried it?
Yes.
It's more bumpy than the dirt runway on the island. Mm-hmm. I've heard a few people mention that Mission Control is the first building they want to upgrade. So far, I found the 2-contract limit to be fine in the early game. By contrast, I found it extremely challenging getting into orbit with the initial mass limit of the launch pad. My upgrade order went launch pad, astronaut complex for the EVAs, then tracking station and mission control for the patched conics and flight planning, then the VAB for bigger rockets. Now I'm saving for the R&D buildings. I so need surface samples for more science. Homer to your mobile, Death Saber.
Next one is from...
You're not sure?
Not sure.
Did I hide it?
Tyler F. Hello, Biff and Nos. I'm not one to communicate to producers or, in matter of fact, the internet, so this is a first for me. I wanted to show you guys about this group called Copenhagen Suborbitals.
Oh, this is cool. Yeah, keep going.
Basically, they're a non-profit, open-sourced rocket-building team. They have built several different unmanned rockets and are planning to build a rocket to send a human suborbital. Some of their videos look very similar to, of course, Kerbal. They have 3 successful prototypes as of now. Tycho Brahe, the first of their designs with a unique capsule, Tycho Deep Space, a more traditional-looking capsule with a launch abort system, was never put on top of a rocket, but did have the launch abort system tested. The last one, the Tycho Deep Space 2, is a more refined version of the Tycho Deep Space and has yet to be built. They have tons more things they do like subs, but that's too much for one letter. Thank you for reading this, and thank you for a great podcast. Hope to have enlightened you with this. Homer to your mobile, Tyler F.
That is so cool. And I would strongly recommend, there are all kinds of videos that you can find on YouTube. Again, Copenhagen, or Copenhagen, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Copenhagen Suborbitals. Look for these videos. These things are so cool. They have built little spaceships. And you know what they remind me of? Torpedoes.
Ah.
These things, they look like basically man-sized torpedoes, where the dome is clear. It's like a clear plastic or some kind of, something that you can see through. It's like, a lot of times you see those submarines that have the clear dome that you can see through. Imagine that design, kind of torpedo-shaped, as a rocket.
Wow.
And the person is supposed to stand up in this thing, and they fly vertically. And, they don't have a whole lot of elbow room, and, they're kind of head and shoulders sticking up into the dome.
Yeah.
But all the controls are right there in front of you. Just imagine standing up inside of a torpedo.
Huh.
But they have, they've done some unmanned launches. And I will say, if they're looking for volunteers at this stage, I'm not one of them.
That's not what I was expecting you to say.
Yeah, that's not a ringing endorsement. No, seriously, I mean, and this is real life, okay? This isn't like Kerbal where you can just hit, revert to save or whatever. But they have a video. And also, I wondered about this because, if you tried to launch a rocket, the FAA would have all kinds of problems with that. I mean, you've got to have permission. And I mean, if you've ever seen the astronaut, what was it, the Astronaut Farmer, that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Billy Bob. Mm-hmm. Sling blade. I'm going to launch me a rocket.
Well, I don't think it's that character, but yeah.
Well, every character Billy Bob plays is that character.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, he wanted to build basically a Mercury capsule. And of course the FAA was going, no, thank you. They get around that. They launch at sea. Their launch platforms are on ships. And they have videos, and here's this ship, and it's got this torpedo-looking rocket on it.
Yeah.
Which is supposed to have a person in it at some point. And anyway, the video that I saw, because he sent me some videos of them. And, and I was thinking, oh, this is cool. So I click on it, right? And this thing gets off the launch pad, and I mean, it's like 10 seconds into the flight, and it leans over and starts spiraling. Like head over,
No.
End over end.
It's happened plenty of times to me in the game.
And then
it's got to happen in real life.
Splat right into the water. And then, of course, they had cameras all over the thing. Like they had one that was inside the torpedo, so it would be the view you would have if you were the occupant. And, so it's like, you take off and there's the horizon, then all of a sudden the horizon tilts and pretty soon it's going, rear, rear, rear. And then there's like, nothing but water.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this going, oh, no. Oh, no. Not only no, but hell no. You're not getting me near that thing. But when they do get it smoothed out, that design, I've never seen that design before for a spaceship. Because usually spaceships, there's always that design where somebody sits down or moves around, or there's always some kind of space. The only thing I would think is unforgiving about this, if the distance between you and the wall of your spacecraft is about 3 or 4 inches at best, if you start spiraling and smack into the water, I would imagine that the person inside the torpedo would get smacked around pretty good.
Yeah, they'd be a different form of matter by the time it was over.
So, maybe they'll put them in there with shoulder pads or something.
Yeah, there you go.
or wrap them in a big blanket and then stick them in there.
Yeah.
But I would love to see. I would love to see if they progress to the point where they actually
have a manned rocket.
Yeah, I guess
cool.
what would it be? Man rated? Is that the way you describe it? Or
I don't
well,
know.
anyway, I would love. I mean, the idea of somebody actually going up into space in one of those things and coming back down. That's cool. Copenhagen Suborbital. Look for the videos on YouTube. If anything, it will give you a whole new appreciation for Kerbal Space Program.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to our next letter. This one comes from Armin P. And he says, "Hi, guys. Thanks for addressing my email in episode 31. I really appreciate the friendly style in which you cover the fan mail. You may remember that I had complained about the audio quality." Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In the meantime, I've done some research to narrow down the problem, and it turns out the audio artifacts and glitches only occur when the podcast is played from my car stereo. Listening to it on any other device is fine. So, unless there are more people having issues, changing the audio quality is really not necessary since I can get around the problem.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Good. I'm glad you find a workaround for it.
Yeah, it's, I mean, if anything, it would show that we're open to, if people are having problems, we're open to working with them.
And if you ever go to sell your car, just don't mention that. Because the next person that buys it, they're going to want to listen to our podcast, and they're not going to want to hear that. So,
the next person that buys it are going to say, I would never listen to that anyway. So, so I want a discount, though.
Well, no, but he's got to go buy a new car anyway.
Yeah, that's true. To listen to Kerbalcast?
Yeah, to listen to us.
Yeah,
so,
that's the reason you want to change cars.
Yeah.
To listen to us.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, back to Armin P. Also, I would like to make a comment related to the message from John Pluto Moved On in episode 31. He had asked about playing KSP with a flight stick. As a matter of fact, I have long been doing flight simming, and hence I own a flight stick, throttle, and pedals. I was eager to try and use the devices in KSP, but after some fiddling, I was quite disappointed. The controls really seem to be made for the aerodynamic flight where you are constantly working against various forces acting on the plane or helicopter. In space, there are only brief moments of firing thrusters or turning your craft around, while during long periods there is just drifting and following the force applied by the external gravity well. When applying roll or pitch, the controls are extremely sensitive and require very small displacement. Next thing I tried was taking off in a default Ares spaceplane. The result was a, quote, major malfunction. Major meaning fireball, and malfunction meaning a transformation into small chunks of debris. That could be our new that could be our new slogan. I think I read somewhere that KSP is not very good when it comes to aerodynamics. I admit, I am still a rookie in KSP. Actually, I just made it into orbit for the first time. But at least Jeb has successfully deorbited and splashed down as well, making him my John Glenn of Kerbals. I sent him I wrote back and I said, does that mean he's going to run for Congress next? Who knows?
Yeah.
There may be situations when flight-style controls may come in handy, but I think I will live with the keyboard and mouse controls for now. The fact that Biff has spent thousands successful hours in KSP without touching any flight stick may be another proof. So, that concludes my flight control rant. I hope you don't mind the length. I have one last question, since I am currently reading Eugene Cernan's The Last Man on the Moon. I guess you're quite familiar with all the astronaut books around, so would you mind sharing your opinion on the books that you have read about space exploration? As I have yet to listen through all your episodes, my audio gap is between episodes 7 and 30. He's made it to episode 6.
Yeah.
I wonder if he lives in Canada.
Yeah.
You may have covered it already, in which case I would ask you to please excuse my ignorance. Well, everybody excuses mine. So I would not say ignorance. Happy rendezvous, and as always, stay away from the black monoliths. Cheers, Armin P. Book recommendations.
I think we did it once. I think we talked about books one time, but I don't think it was ever in our itinerary.
Yeah.
It just kind of spurred up, so we'll just do it again.
Okay. Two that I would recommend right off the top of my head, especially since he is reading Gene Cernan's Last Man on the Moon. That is about Apollo 17. That was obviously last Apollo mission. Two books I would recommend. and I've already written him back and told him, but I'm saying this for the benefit of the listenership. As always, if you have not read A Man on the Moon by Andrew Chaikin, read that book. That book is the Bible when it comes to the Apollo program. Now, I recommend, read that one, and then if you want, read the individual astronaut books for more detail. But if you want to talk about a repository of Apollo information, it is there. A Man on the Moon, Andrew Chaikin. And the other book that I would suggest, and again, this goes back to, he's reading Gene Cernan, Chris Kraft, who was director of Mission Control, wrote a book called Flight, My Life in Mission Control. Very good book. Recommend reading that one. Another one, Gene Kranz wrote a book, Failure is Not an Option, which I think we've all heard before. Mm-hmm. Very good book. Jim Lovell wrote Lost Moon. Very good book. Those are my recommendations.
Yeah.
And those are all off the top of my head. So, isn't it kind of scary that just off the top of my head?
I would recommend Star Trek versus X-Men.
I want to be there when Picard meets Professor X.
It was, I don't even remember. I think I read.
Do you know what they would do?
I think I read
you know
it
what they
in
would
high school.
do? Seriously, they would get Patrick Stewart would be Picard, and they'd get James McAvoy. It
Yeah.
would be the early Professor
there you
X.
go. That's the workaround.
And he would be walking around, he was going, I can't read your mind because I can walk.
Yeah.
So, don't need the wheelchair.
Yeah.
I guess you have to have seen the last X-Men movie, Days
So-
of Future Past, to get that
I
one.
actually haven't seen
Or no, is it Future Past or Future Present?
Days of Future Past.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good Lord. I can't even get that right.
So our next letter comes from Mittenpo. Hey guys,
Hey!
it's Christmas. No, it's not. It was.
It was
when he
Christmas.
wrote it.
We're catching
It
up.
was there, getting there. And being an adult in this season is quite hard. Lots of work and preparations for this special day. Have you all finished buying your gifts? No, me neither. Actually, I still haven't.
Hey, I'm wearing my gift.
Yeah. Still, you are a gift.
I am a gift.
Still,
a gift that can't be returned.
Still looking for Kerbal Legos, but nowhere to be found. Oh yeah, that would be kind of cool. It's a little Lego Kerbal guys. Let's talk about the game. Yes.
I'm still waiting for Gerbil Space Program, the board game.
Last week, you guys asked if any of the listeners had tried to use another type of control scheme for the game, and my answer to that is yes. Ever since you guys talked about the people who made their own cockpits for the game, I've tried to do something similar. After some researching, I found a way to make a simple human interface device using something called Arduino. Nas will explain what it is. No, I'm not going to explain what it is.
We explained it in the last one, so.
I had this,
Remember I wikied it while you were talking?
Yeah. I had this huge idea of making an awesome cockpit with lots of illuminating buttons, but ended up with only one big red button saying, abort. Programming the device to handle multiple actions became too complicated for someone with no background experience of C language. At this point, I had almost given up dreaming about my personal Kerbal cockpit. I've been using the support button ever since, but recently I found an awesome app on the App Store called Custom Control Pad, CCP. It is a custom configurable control surface for your computer using your smartphone or tablet. My initial thought was, oh my gosh, I can finally make my own Kerbal controller, and Nas is really handsome. After reading the tutorial...
He did not say that.
I scrolled down and pre-installed layouts for the various softwares and found a tab called Games. Fair enough, FIFA, Dota, World of Warcraft, Battlefield, Arcade, Grid, etc., and Kerbal Space Program. It had pre-installed layouts for the game. This is surely a wonderful app, but it still has some limitations. Although the developer mentioned about a mod to send back flight data such as altitude, prograde, periapsis, etc., to your iOS and Android device, it's nowhere to be found. But if you do, please be kind and share it. I mainly use it for my action groups. For example, instead of remembering what all the numbers do what, I can name a button called Open Cargo, Release Pod, Transmit Data, and so on. You can create and save as many layouts as you want, one for launch, rendezvous, EVA, landing, you name it. I strongly recommend this app. Captain Kirk also talks about quick saving. Coming back in time, changing history, that's cheating.
A trick I learned from an old friend.
Mittenpo.
Did he say that that's iOS and Android?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, I got that wrong because I said initially that it was iOS only.
Oh, okay.
I got that wrong, so I may stand corrected.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's a good problem though with that one.
Yeah, well, that's true. I will say at this point, and I'm going to tease a little bit. Keep custom control pad in mind.
Okay.
Because we have something coming up in regards to that. Do you remember I had said that we asked last time for a review of it, and then it was like before the episode even went out, we got a review?
Yeah.
That was it. Okay, next letter. It's me, Ironsides.
Hey, Ironsides.
I know you want voice letters, but I can't do that right now. So please read this letter in a most interesting man in the world, but younger kind of voice. What would that sound like?
Me.
Maybe you should read it. Hey, Biff and Nos, you have mentioned about having the Steam version of KSP. You should post more on the Steam KSP forums. I especially would like to see some screenshots in the mega threads. You will find it easy. It never moves far from the top page. I post in it a lot. I have 1,300 screenshots.
Oh, wow.
I know it's a lot, but they are all pretty great. Okay. Modesty is not a problem.
Yeah. It's like a teenage girl's selfie collection.
Yeah, there you go.
Right there.
Oh, my God. Oh, God. You said selfie. I know I'm a big fan of the podcast. I said the podcast, only the podcast. Just kidding. And I know of at least one other of my friend on my friends list who wrote to you. Speaking of friends, I have a guy in my list, Nostromo. His avatar is like a gangster zombie.
Huh.
He owns KSP and has a screenshot of what appears to be an advanced rollie. Could this be the real Nostromo?
You know, I think it was Fidel Castro had a whole bunch of lookalikes. So if anyone went and killed him, they actually killed one of the lookalikes. So, it could be.
So do I need to get you a big beard and a cigar? Yeah. Oh, he says, is it the real Nostromo or is it some kind of wannabe?
I'll never tell.
You'll never tell. Okay. Well, again, I changed it because what he said. I changed my Steam profile name was originally something else. I've changed it to Biff Aldrin.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if someone could find me that.
Now, you only really play KSP on Steam. So
you know what? You want to hear something really stupid though?
What?
The Steam holiday sale.
Yeah.
I lost count. I cannot remember the number of games that I bought. None of them have been installed.
But you have them. That's what's
I
important.
have, but it was
you
like I was
as
going,
many of them
yeah,
as you
that looks
can.
good. Click.
Yeah, I need these.
Yeah, that looks good.
I
Click.
need all of these.
That looks good. Click.
Yeah.
And then it was like,
some sort of bridge troll just hoarding things in your cave. You're like,
well, you know what it is about Steam sales is there's that little demon in the back of your brain that always says, get it now because you're going to want to play it later.
Oh, yeah.
And I have games that are like years old that were purchased with that thought in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Although I will say, in fairness, that's how I bought Kerbal.
Yeah.
I was, as I've said before, I was big into Minecraft
at the time.
at the time.
One promise of 100.
Yeah, one out of about 200. Yeah, I was big into Minecraft at the time, and I could not imagine playing anything but Minecraft.
Well,
and I saw Kerbal, and I said, well, that looks interesting. And so I bought it, and then I played Kerbal, and it was like, mine what?
Yeah.
So
if you get a bunch of friends in, you've only played Kerbal, so you haven't done a lot of trading cards, so you haven't leveled up your profile very much. So you have a limited number of friends. So everybody find Biff Aldrin because you got to get in quick.
You know, what you just said applies to real life as well. And it has nothing to do with updating my profile.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't have many friends, but that's okay.
It's okay.
Because I have little green Kerbals that they keep me company.
There you go. You got one on your shirt.
I got one on my shirt.
It's your letter.
It's my, oh, that's right. I'm still reading this letter, aren't I? Ironsides. Okay, continuing. By the way, BTW, loving 0.90. It is indeed beta than ever. I love the new editor tool. You guys know I like mods, and so far most of my essentials have been updated to, oh, this is a, what do you call it? Where you do where you use the punctuation to make a smiley face?
Yeah, an emoticon.
Emoticon, thank you. Yeah, it's full colon and then a capital D. Stop laughing.
You're so old.
I know. What was it a couple ones ago where it was GTFO and I thought it was go for it? And you had to, we're like, no, that's not go for it.
You're talking about hashtags and stuff.
Yeah. There was I can't remember. There was a movie, and I can't say the line, but basically it was somebody who said, "WTF does WTF stand for?"
Oh yeah.
which of course just put me on the floor. I actually got that one, so. Okay. Ironside. Career seems to be a little grindy. Heard that. But I suppose that good cause, I suppose, okay. But I suppose that good because I was feeling it was a little fast to get to the full tree before.
Yeah.
Last episode before the break, episode 32, you talked about the Kerbal's experience and careers now. The jokes about a full MMO level system was funny, but in actuality, I do hope this first iteration is more bare bones like career, and especially the currency system was when first released. I don't want them to go overboard, but surely they can come up with more skills and levels. My dream would be enough skills they could somewhat randomize with ones they get to have more diversity amongst our Kerbonauts. You could have 2 pilots, but still have different abilities on them, something like that. Love the podcast. May you always have a star to steer by and enough fuel to get you home if you don't just watch DVDs over and over.
It's funny.
And there's another emoticon.
He's talking like features with it's like Rogue Legacy. Anytime your guy would die, one of his progeny would replace him. But they all had different quirks. Like one was colorblind, and so like you'd play the game, and some of the colors like
would wash out.
Yeah, they would wash out. And another one was, they'd be like really short or really tall or like really heavy or really like small. It's just all these different traits.
Honestly, my luck is I'd get the one that was suicidal.
That's a Kerbal knot.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But watch you get like a Kerbal that's a little too big.
Yeah.
Like he needs, you can't put him in a single man pod. He's got to have 2 seats.
I used to play. This is an aside, but I used to play Guild Wars, and and I learned early on that if you played as a healer, you were never hurting for a party. Because everybody wants a healer.
Yeah.
And I discovered, and I got cursed out more times than I can count, because of suicidal idiots that would run into, all by themselves, would run into these giant crowds of like 30, NPCs. They would run in, they would get killed, and then they'd come back and they'd start hollering at me because I didn't heal them.
Yeah, you didn't die with me.
Yeah, and what finally sent somebody over the edge was I finally went, I'm sorry, I can't heal stupid. Because, it's like, don't run into a crowd of 30 orcs by yourself.
Yeah.
But anyway.
That's just a life lesson. Right
there.
I
mean, he unleashed this torrent on me, and then, click. So-and-so has left the game.
Oh, he showed you.
Yeah, he really showed me. Yeah, I'm still stinging about it to this day. Do you have the next letter?
Yeah, this comes from William M. I just discovered your podcast a couple of days ago with your episode 31. You asked if anyone had experiences with flight sticks in KSP.
Wow.
I use a Cytec AV8R-03, and it works great with KSP. It's easier to write that than it is to say.
It is to say.
But really,
honestly, I think sometimes people write things just to see how badly we're going to mangle them.
No, but what's cute about it, it's AV8R. Aviator.
Oh, that's okay.
The Aviator has 3 axes of control, pitch, roll, and yaw, provided by rotating the stick left to right, plus a built-in throttle along with a hat switch. The addition of the hat switch is what I feel makes a joystick awesome in KSP. Actually, those things are just awesome in anything.
I know.
I have set my hat switch to control the translation controls of my spacecraft with 2 of the buttons on the top of the stick for translate forwards and backwards thruster commands. This makes docking and landing on the Mun very easy because I can control both my orientation and the direction of flight without switching modes or using 2 hands on different sets of keys. The stick also features a safety toggle switch for the pickle that I've mapped to the staging button. If you're looking to try a flight stick, the Aviator can be found on sale for about $25 occasionally. The Logitech Extreme 3D Pro can also be found in that price range on Amazon about right now. I have a friend who used the 3D Pro in other games and found it to be quite serviceable.
Did you say pickle?
Yes.
Okay.
I think he painted it green, the flight stick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he soaked it in vinegar.
And made a pickle. Okay.
Yeah.
What a pretty pickle. Well, I have just a quick shout out. One of our frequent contributors is Thomas Eccles. And he wants to let everyone know he has created a new YouTube channel. And he is posting some Kerbal Space Program videos. And we are going to put a link to it on the show page. So go to the show page and look for the link. Or look for the link.
Yeah.
And that was it. It's your turn.
He's the guy that did the movie trailer thing, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Okay, this one comes from Dan H. Hi, guys. Dan from NEL Films here. First off, I'd like to thank you for tweeting out our KSP Let's Play. It's really been a big boost in views for our fledgling YouTube channel.
All right.
Well, we probably didn't send anyone good, but we sent somebody. We're a rough crowd here.
Yeah. You can't stay. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Any publicity is good publicity. Secondly, I'd like to talk about something I accomplished in my single-player and challenge you guys to try it as well. Without thinking, after starting a new career mode for game 0.90 and playing for a little while, I accepted a Kerbal from space contract. I proceed to launch and get in an orbit thinking, I can do this without RCS. Then, to my horror, I realized that because of the new upgradable building system, I don't have the maneuver nodes available, nor can I target the orbiting Kerbal. So I say screw it and try to rendezvous with them anyways. Using the small bit of orbital mechanics I've learned from listening to your podcast, to my amazement, I actually managed to get within 2 kilometers of the Kerbal, which is close enough to switch to him and get him to board the ship. Mm-hmm. Yeah, make him walk. All I said, I don't think I could actually do again if I really wanted to. I don't think I could repeat that success. So I am wondering if this is as hard to do as I think it is, or I was just really lucky, and would like to ask you guys and your other listeners to give it a try. It was probably one of the most satisfying things I've accomplished in KSP, as I thought it was next to impossible. Keep up the great podcast, Dan H.
We have talked about this many times, but it's always these last-second, hair on fire, going over the cliff.
Gonna try it anyway moments.
Those are the ones that are most satisfying.
Oh, yeah, memory makers.
And I'll tell you, what he did, I have yet to be able to do it. I cannot, if I can't target something, I don't know how to rendezvous with something I can't target.
Yeah. That was another thing I forgot about career mode, is you can't make maneuver nodes. And you can't do anything with any of that stuff. So I'm not sure whether or not it's true, but I haven't been able to track some things. Mm-hmm. So, like recovering parts to get the money from that. Unless my parts have all crashed down, I've started putting parachutes on everything. So I'll decouple something and it'll hit parachutes.
Which costs money.
Yeah. I don't know whether or not they survive it, but I was hoping maybe it would so I could save some money. But.
Yeah. There's a lot of times there are features in this game that you don't miss. I mean, that you don't realize you miss until they're gone. Yeah. And targeting is one of those. I've never played the game where I couldn't target. And so once in a while, I'll occasionally, especially if I've been playing for a while, glitches kind of sneak in. And once in a while, I'll reach a point where I can't target something for some reason. Yeah. Another glitch I've run into, and this is after playing it for a while, I get to the point where if I do time acceleration, my ship literally explodes. It's like I hit the time acceleration key and it's just
done.
Yeah, and then all is, like if it was the capsule, was the control vessel, it's like, and all that would be left would be the capsule. And all the other pieces would be, there'd be this giant cloud of pieces that are all moving away very quickly. So that's the point at which I go, okay, reload. Yeah. But yeah, trying to rendezvous and not being able to target, that's tough. Yeah. Okay, I have a quick, this is just a very quick news item. And this is going to require you to get online and do some searching. I tried to cut and paste this picture. I can't because it's a GIF and it rotates. There's about 10 or 15 pictures and it rotates through them and I can't save the individual pictures. Yeah. So I was not able to cut and paste. But this is Kotaku, Australia. We get a lot of stories from them, don't we? Mm-hmm. I was talking earlier about Star Trek. Well, everyone's favorite Star Trek space station has come to Kerbal's space program. It really, and this is quote, it really is everyone's favored Star Trek space station and Kerbal space program. The KS-9 was built by Redditor Rufus Callahan, notably without the need of the support of any mods, and it is greatest looked at while listening to the Deep Space Nine theme. I will show you a picture, and I will tell the listenership, again, go online and look for this. It is absolutely amazing.
And the fact that it's done without any mods is what's...
What this is, and I know a more trained eye than mine will probably be able to do this, but I wasn't. Zooming in on this picture, and I told you it's a series of pictures rotating. Well, the pictures themselves zoom in. When you get really close, I can't tell, in many cases, what the stock parts are that are being used.
Wow.
Which makes it even that much more amazing.
I'm going to guess there are a lot of space plane parts that you don't recognize because you don't build space planes.
That is, you know what? That's probably true.
Yeah.
Very good. Again, Kotaku, Australia. The Redditor name is Rufus Callahan, and it's KS9. If you want to do a Google search, just do Gerbil. Do Gerbil. Do Kerbal Space Program and then Star Trek. And chances are this will come up, and it will be amazing. Or it will amaze you. I'm down to my last letter. How about you?
Yep, I got one left.
Okay.
This one comes from Andy D. Hi, guys. Recently discovered your podcast after starting to get back into Kerbal. Now the game is in beta. The last time I played, there was only the basic sandbox. Now I have to learn a tech tree and manage money. All good stuff, though. I love the feature on Apollo 8 in the recent episode, and I was wondering if you'd ever heard the album The Songs of Distant Earth by Mike Oldfield. There's a track on there called Let There Be Light that samples the audio. I'm sure you'll probably be able to find it on YouTube if you haven't heard it. I knew the audio was taken from a space mission, but had no idea which one it was until your feature. Thanks for enlightening me. Keep up the good work, Andy D.
I actually don't have to go to YouTube. I am a big Mike Oldfield fan. I have been for quite some time. I will say that one of my absolute all-time favorite pieces of music is Tubular Bells. Which I know Mike Oldfield is probably in interviews today going, I did other music than that.
Yeah.
Stop reminding me of the 1973 album. Tubular Bells is one of my favorites, and I have always I enjoy his other albums as well. And I already had that album. And when I was putting together the Apollo 8 retrospective, I guess, or anniversary segment that we did, I tried to find a place to put that in. The thing about audio has to have kind of a logic to it. And Mike Oldfield doesn't exactly write short compositions.
Yeah.
And so his tracks tend to go on for like 20 minutes. And what he's talking about, the audio, the audio of the astronauts reading from the book of Genesis, plays at one point, and then there's music, and then it plays some more. There wasn't really kind of a logical place where I could cut that and drop it in.
Yeah.
Now, I could drop it in at this point because I've given an explanation for it. But without an explanation, just dropping it in would have made no sense. And I had, it was like after the fact, and I was thinking, there's got to be some way to work this in, and I just couldn't find it. But yeah, I've heard of it. It is a really cool track. It's also, do you remember this is a long time back, but do you remember we talked about music we listen to when we play Kerbal? That's a good one to listen to. Mike Oldfield music generally is good to play Kerbal to.
Yeah.
You were right. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is good to play. The Gravity soundtrack is really good. And there's a new one I will add, Interstellar.
Oh, yeah. So
very good music.
Okay, anytime we talk music, we got to talk the newest one we're listening to while playing the game. So yours would be Interstellar soundtrack?
Interstellar, yes. And also, I also, I rotate around. Sometimes I don't just do instrumental.
Yeah.
For Christmas, and you want to talk about feeling old. For Christmas, I got the Bruce Springsteen box set. It's his first 5 albums.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was trying to find it before I got it for Christmas. I was trying to find it, and I was calling around to record stores going, do you guys have the new Bruce Springsteen box set?
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. The clerk I got was like, Bruce, how do you spell that? And I was like, and at that point I did a facepalm.
Yeah.
Okay. And he said, is that some kind of rock? And then he goes, hang on a second. And he puts the phone down. And I hear him holler to another clerk, hey, have you heard of this Bruce Springs? No, what kind of music is that? Okay, at this point, facepalm turned into me pounding my forehead on the table. How can you not know who Bruce Springsteen is? Duke Ellington was not my generation, but I knew who he was, and I knew it was jazz.
Yeah.
Chuck Berry was not my generation, but I knew who he was. How can you not know who Bruce Springsteen is? But the answer to your question is I've been listening to that on kind of a loop. And also, David Bowie's got some new stuff out, so I've been listening to a lot of that. But yeah, I've been Interstellar. When I start playing Kerbal to that, generally it's on repeat.
Yeah.
And it'll play through like 3 and 4 and 5 times in a row. Mm-hmm. It's really cool music to play the game to.
My music lately has been Red Ants, which is like hard rap. And then, I saw that face.
Okay.
And then The Drums, it's a band called The Drums. And they have an album called Portofino, which has been pretty, it's like indie stuff.
Really?
Yeah. It's
okay.
I don't know, it's a really good album.
Can you do me a favor?
What?
There are 2 words I just long to hear.
Diarrhea Planet.
Oh, thank you.
I haven't seen anything
I
recently
needed
from
that.
them. I haven't gotten anything new from them recently. So.
That is a shout back. That is a callback to early episodes.
I still remember the first segment we did on that.
Yeah, you remember the face I made.
Yeah.
Are we down to our last letter?
Yeah, it's all you.
Okay. I said a while back with custom control pad to keep that in mind because we had something that was coming up. This is the something that's coming up. This comes from Otavio R. And he says, hello, have just heard your podcast episode mentioning our app. First thing, thank you for mentioning us and congratulations for your work on the podcast. Have heard the last few episodes but have liked it. Custom Control Pad, or CCP, was born to control keyboard shortcuts for pro applications we use in studio. Maya, Photoshop, Final Cut, etc. And being a KSP junkie, I immediately started using it for it. So we developed a gaming-oriented side of the application. In your podcast, you notice that the keyboard probably feels better. I agree on this. I personally use the keyboard to control my crafts, but always have CCP with custom label action group buttons, and all flight data displayed on cool-looking screens and gauges. Our main gaming customers are people playing flight simulators and space sim like Star Citizen and Elite for 2 main purposes. Number 1, immersion. With the right graphics, the iPad screen can feel perfectly integrated with the vehicle, with buttons in the same spot as a real panel, etc. For example, radio in flight simulator. Number 2, simulators usually have a huge amount of keys and shortcuts to remember. With CCP, you can have buttons for every that you can label and edit as you want, which execute whatever PC keyboard key combination, making it easier. I hope you enjoy the app. I love playing KSP with it at home. And Otavio was very nice. He sent us 2 free promo codes for the full version of the game. And in the past, we tried to do a giveaway, and we came up with a question that was so difficult.
Yeah.
Because we're new at this. And we came up with a question that was so difficult that nobody got it. And so we had to come up with like hints.
Yeah. Yeah, and that sort of went okay. And then it came down to 2 people and we're going to do a drawing, and so it turned into a coin flip, and like I really just kind of feel bad for it was Run Phil Run that didn't win. Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry, dude.
Right.
And,
well, we're going to try and simplify it this time.
So, would you like to win a code to win this app? Well, all you have to do is something very simple. Just get an email address that you have and email us at kerbalpodcast.gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
Can you call me old?
kerbalpodcast@gmail.com. Email us with the subject line, "Give me the code." And if you would like to include in the email itself what name you want to be called, and if you want to include a screen cap, we will tweet it out.
Is that give me the code or gimme, Gimme?
Give me the code.
Give me the code.
Yeah, give me the code.
Okay. Yeah, send us an email. And what we're going to do to avoid the boondoggle that we came up with last time, what we're going to do is simply send in your emails. We're going to get however many we get, we're just going to do a random drawing.
Yep.
We've got 2 codes to give away. So, 2 lucky Kerbalcast listeners. Wow, I didn't think I'd ever put those words together.
They're not lucky to listen to us,
yeah.
but they're lucky if they get the code.
That's right.
That's why there's only 2 of them.
That's right. You know what? That may encompass our entire listenership, too.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, send in an email. Once again, with the, is it hashtag? Did you say hashtag?
No, I'm not doing a hashtag.
What's that,
So
Sonny?
send us an email, kerbalpodcast@gmail.com. Subject line, give me the code. In the email itself, say what you want to be referred to as on our podcast, on the episode we announce it. And if you want to give us a screen cap of you playing the game, we will also put that on our Twitter.
Woohoo! Okay, so that is the simplest way we're going to do this. Send in emails. We'll do a drawing. 2 winners.
There you go.
There you go. And the losers have to listen to the podcast.
We now have
From
your
the
email,
beginning.
and we're going to sign you up for our pyramid scheme.
Yeah,
Like
there you
$1
go.
million ideas. Got to get at the ground level.
Do you know you were giving out the Kerbal Podcast at gmail.com? We ended up on a spam list somewhere.
Really?
And I keep getting these emails. I mean, I'm not, you always hear these jokes about Nigerian princes and things. I keep getting those. I keep getting scams for, Nigerian princes. I've gotten ones that have told me that some, great uncle or somebody died and left me millions of dollars.
Oh, man. You're a lucky guy.
Yeah.
I mean, poor uncle, but I mean, you're lucky.
I've gotten one. I mean, it literally said, it was like the government. I mean, that's literally how they identified themselves.
Oh, yeah.
The government.
You want to answer that.
Yeah.
That sounds serious.
And it was like, we did some, record checking and you overpaid your taxes, so we need to refund it. We just need your bank account number.
Oh.
Somehow or the other, we got on a spam list.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Anyway, some of this is just absolutely freaking hilarious. Okay, again, we're going to give out custom control pad. Now we're going to move on. Do you know, honestly, I think we have done back-to-back the longest progress update we've ever done.
Uh-huh.
And I think we just finished the longest mission briefing we've ever done.
It's a new year.
Wow. Well, we had a lot to get through.
Hey, making up for lost time.
Well, our next segment is not going to be the longest, but we're going to go on now to A Kerbal Life.
When we last left our brave characters in A Kerbal Life, we were in major trouble.
Jeb was dead!
There was an explosion. And, there's not a visual portion, but we assume it was beautiful. And Jeb, what happened to Jeb? Let's find out in A Kerbal Life.
And the attention of Kerbals everywhere is focused on the Kerbal Space Center today after the accidental launch of the first manned space mission without a parachute. The latest news is that the ship hurtled back to the ground uncontrolled and hit in a massive, though reportedly beautiful, explosion.
It wasn't supposed to go like this, Carmen.
What do you mean, MC?
Well, ever since I was just a little sprout, all I ever wanted to be was mission controller. The big MC.
A sprout? Does that mean Kerbals are plants?
You're missing the point, Carmen. The first Kerbal in space dies on my watch.
Jeb knew the risks, MC. This isn't on you.
Did he, Carmen? Did he really?
Hi, everybody.
Jeb?
Oh, good. Jebediah. You're here in time for the next mission. Great. I'll get suited up.
Wait a minute.
Going through the final checks now, MC. Almost prepared for launch.
How is Jebediah in that rocket?
He put on his suit and got in there?
He died, Carmen. His rocket crashed. Does that not strike you as odd?
Well, the administrator did set the difficulty settings to normal, MC. That's probably why he's back.
Difficulty settings? Real life doesn't have difficulty settings. There's something bizarre going on here, and I intend to figure it out. I need to know the truth. I'm gonna be single-minded about this. I'm gonna focus on this like a laser. My attention will not waver.
Look, the donut card is here.
Donuts. Mission control to Mooner 1. We have the go, and you'll be launching in a minute.
MC, I got a good feeling about this mission.
Well, remember my catchphrase. Failure is another form of success.
Keep working on that one, MC. I'm not sure that one even makes sense.
Right. To the mission. What can possibly go wrong?
A Kerbal Life was written by Amy Kettlewell with music by Lee Rosevere. Jebediah Kerman and Kerbal Space Program were created by Squad. The game is available for purchase on Steam or KerbalSpaceProgram.com.
Wow, Jeb is back.
Yeah. Well, I missed him.
Honestly, I was worried Because, as we've said before, Amy Kettlewell writes this program. So we don't know from week to week what's going to happen. And last week, or I guess last program, when she sent this in and Jeb died.
Right, where do we go from here?
We were like, Amy is the Jeb killer.
Yeah.
You know how, politics, they always talk about, this is a job killer. It's like, Amy is the Jeb killer. I was thinking, oh my God, what did we get ourselves into here? And then, of course, that's right. And that happened to me. When I deleted, remember I said I deleted the Discovery mission? Mm-hmm. And they were all back in mission in the astronaut complex.
Yeah.
Forgot about that. Interesting. Well, anyway, we'll see what happens next.
Yeah.
Again, that's A Kerbal Life, and it is written by Amy Kettlewell. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see what happens from here. We are literally putting the final touches on one of the longest episodes we've ever done.
Well, let's not extend it.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, there's not an after the credits this time.
Yeah. So,
that
wraps it up for episode 33, A Different 2015.
And you know why that is, don't you? Because I went back with a sports almanac, and I changed the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
I did it.
It didn't even work out for you.
So the 2015 you thought you were going to have...
Completely different.
Completely different.
Your fault.
I did it.
So we want to hand out some thanks, if they're still around, if we didn't change the timeline enough. We want to thank all of our listeners, and that includes our regular contributors, and that is especially including Amy Kettlewell, writer of A Kerbal Life.
Yeah, good job on that, Amy. Also, the music that you just heard is Lee Rosevear, and he does the music for A Kerbal Life. The rest of the music that you hear in the program comes to us from Professor Soap.
You can find him at facebook.com/Professor Soap. We also want to thank Ascalon for posting episodes of Kerbalcast to YouTube so you can read them with the YouTube captioning.
That's where Homer to your mobile comes from.
There you go.
And we do want to toss out, even though we kind of slagged on 0.90.
We still love you.
We still love you. You're our buddy. You're our pal. We're, of course, talking about Squad. Thanks, guys. It's an awesome game. Yes, we're going to nitpick, but that's what we do.
Hey, I always say...
It's a nitpicky, abusive kind of love.
Complaining is a gamer's first language.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I would amend that. Complaining is a nerd's first love.
Yeah, there you go.
If it's like Star Wars, okay? What did you hear for years? Oh, I wish George Lucas would go back and make episodes 1 through 3. And then episodes 1 through 3 came in. Oh, I hate it.
Yeah, I can't wait to hate this now.
Now episode 7's coming out. I can't wait to hate it.
So, if you ever want to contact us, you can find us at kerbalpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on Twitter at Kerbalcast.
And you can download episodes directly from kerbalpodcast.libsyn.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes. And I want to say thank you to everyone who has been leaving comments on iTunes.
Yeah.
When we first started this podcast, I used to, every day, I would go to iTunes and look under comments, and there'd be nothing there.
Uh-huh.
And I was thinking, oh no, they hate us. And that first comment came up. And I was like,
oh, we can keep going.
This is great. This is great. And then, over time, a couple of more comments would come up, and it'd be, oh man, this is just great.
Yeah.
And then here lately, we've been getting a bunch.
Oh, yeah. Some of them are real recent.
Thank you so much for posting iTunes comments. If you have not done so, and you would like to, please do it. We're trying to get the word out about this podcast. It makes, you want to talk about making my day. Going to iTunes and seeing comments. Good comments. I guess I should add that.
You're setting yourself up here.
Yeah, I really was. Somebody's going to, it sucks.
Trash
S-U-X.
Yeah.
You can't heal stupid. That was a callback.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
But anyway, love comments on iTunes. Thank you so much. And as we mentioned, look for us on YouTube so you have the pleasure of misreading what the automatic closed captioning thinks we're saying.
But at least it's there.
Well, that does it for episode 33 of Kerbalcast, A Different 2015. Until next time, I am your LMP, Lunar Module Pilot Biff Aldrin, our CMP, Command Module Pilot
Nostromo.
Happy Kerbaling!